going on, guys? It's EJ here, aka Gohan, and today we got a special guest. I call him the strength training genius. He's got the knowledge on it. What's good, my brother?
How you doing today?
What's your name, bro?
Nico.
Nico. We got Nico in the building,
Yes,
and I just want to run him through a few questions. I want to pick his brain because he's the philosopher, you know. So, before we get into the strength training, which you specialize in, I want to tackle my aspect, my side of things, which is health. So, what is your diet like, and how important to you is health?
My diet, I mean, in this moment, I'm not gonna say my diet's all over the place, but I eat like, I eat according to feeling. Like, some days I might fuck around and just eat fruit the whole day. Might be meat the whole day, might be fish, might be a mixture of all these things.
Yeah.
It's just depending on like how I feel. But almost always, I can tell you without a doubt, 90% of the time, I will always eat like fruits for breakfast all the time. Like I would even, like my first meal of the day will almost always be fruit. Because your window of like, how do I say this?
Process of elimination, your body is excreting toxins.
Yeah, exactly.
In between 7 and 11. So what he's doing is actually what you're supposed to be doing, and he's doing it by how he's feeling. So in essence, he's connected to his body. So he's doing what's making him feel good, which is correct. So eating fruits in the mornings is the best thing to do because your body's going through a process of detoxification as you wake up. And what the fruits do is help push out like a broom all that waste so you can get ready for your meal. So,
Yes, indeed.
how
You just
important?
outlined everything that I was trying to say in the 2 seconds just now.
Yeah.
My guy.
So, how important is diet for you? How what's the significance of it?
In this moment,
you, yes.
like right now, super important. Prior to me being conscious about how I eat and what I eat and at what time and things of that nature, I was full spectrum, eat whatever the fuck, whenever, did not care how it affected my, internals. Only thing I cared about was just caloric intake and how that affected my strength training. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about at that time. So for example, at one point in time, I was eating Burger King breakfast,
Wow.
lunch, dinner, and then I'll probably go home and cook pasta and just eat a fuck ton of pasta with meat sauce and other shit. And I, obviously didn't make the sauce myself, so that's all, canned, processed, etc., etc.
Right.
But in that time, I didn't care.
Right.
Because I'm like, I have a goal. My goal is to train as hard as fucking possible, usually twice a day. And I just need to eat as much food as possible to fuel this endeavor. And then in turn, by doing that, yes, did I out-train a bad diet? For the most part, yeah. But there were other aspects of my health that certainly were not up to par. Number one, my fucking skin was terrible. I had terrible skin, and I just justified it with, it is what it is. You know, I'm just like, I just gotta eat all this shit so I can be strong and, things of that nature.
Right.
My sleep was terrible. I had terrible sleep, bro. Terrible sleep. It didn't matter if I slept 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. I was always fucking tired.
Wow.
All the time. But over the course of time, and even me taking a hiatus from training for a while, that's when I literally sat down and thought. I'm like, hey, I don't think I want to induce any more trauma in this body. I kind of want to like start from scratch and like rebuild this in a much better way. And that's when I became conscious about eating. And health to me now, super important. Yes, do I eat, some things? Do I eat donuts and this and that, whatever? My guilty pleasure is chocolate chip cookies. But they're vegan chocolate chip cookies. I get it from the place, Apple a Day Cafe down the street. Amazing. They're 2 for 1, so I get like however many I feel like getting. But like other than that, nah, I'm pretty much eating lots of clean food. It's like I was just telling you, I eat raw fish, I eat sushi, I eat lots of rice, usually with soy sauce and some other things. I drink a fuck ton of water. What else? I eat a lot of fruits. I eat about, on a normal basis, when I told you like I eat a lot of fruit in the morning, I eat about anywhere from 3 to like 5 pounds of bananas like every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of protein.
Hell yeah.
A lot of calories. So you can build muscle on fruits. And
I feel my strongest when I eat fruits. I'm not even capping in this moment. I look back because I don't document everything I do on a regular basis, but when I do document, I know how I'm feeling. I know what type of routine or mode I'm in when I take a picture and make an Instagram post or when I make a story, etc., etc. I kind of keep all this information in my head, so I can look at a picture. I can go to my Instagram feed and scroll through it and pick a picture, pick a date, and I can tell you what type of lifestyle I was living in that point in time.
right.
And I know, like, when I'm at my best, when I'm at my strongest, when I feel the most full, when I feel the sharpest, it's when I eat a lot of fruit.
So you heard it, man. Fruits, that's key. And just like he said too, he outworked his bad diet. So, I mean, many of you are going to see a lot of results, physical results, on a bad diet. Like, I'm not gonna knock that, but that comes with a cost, which is, like you said, your skin health, sleeping, all these other different things comes with whatever you want, which is, let's say, strength or size. That's gonna come or be complemented if you're eating like Burger King, for instance, with a bunch of these disorders or these dis-eases, because we want to be at ease. So yeah, man. So the next question I want to ask you is, how important is the mind?
It's the most important, especially, like, not just, of course, overall, because your mind is what dictates your circumstances, is what literally creates your reality. It's like, as you think, so shall your reality becomes and unfolds, because it's always up to you. But especially in terms of like strength training, that's literally the only thing that allows you to be strong. Yes, will some people have a propensity or an inclination or you know, they have favorable movements. Like, some people are just better at bench press, better at deadlift, better at squat, whatever, you know, clean and jerk, snatch, anything. You know, because we all have different shapes, we all have different physiques and physiologies and, you know, physiological setups and et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't have the mental capacity to throw yourself in the fire, to figure out what it's like to be strong and endure the pain, to understand what strength is, you won't get it, you won't have it.
Okay, so what is a good way to train the mind, work on the mind, exercise that muscle, in your opinion? What's the best ways?
Do hard shit all the time, as much as possible, whatever it is. If it's uncomfortable, do it.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it doesn't even have to necessarily relate to strength training. Just anything in life that, if you have to sit there and be like, man, fuck, I don't really want to do it. Right there, do it.
So fight that pain.
Exactly.
Embrace the pain.
You're like, damn, I don't want to have to go do the yard. It's raining. Do it anyway. Matter of fact, go out, just do it right there in that moment. Don't even wear no jacket. Fuck it. Just go out there. Just embrace the discomfort for what it is.
Right.
Because here's how I look at it. There is something to be gained in putting yourself not necessarily in a state of disadvantage, but in a state where you don't feel at your best, because you can then build your best out of this circumstance.
Right.
You can learn to adapt to make all circumstances favorable to you. That's the whole practice. Like the same way when you have calluses on your fingers because you're gripping the pull-up bar and you're repping out. You're creating friction between your skin and that aluminum bar, or you know, whatever kind of bar is up there. Over time, the fact that you keep creating that friction, you keep living in that friction, is what creates that callus. And then over time, you go from having like dainty soft hands and it hurts to hold the bar, so you just get out there and hold that bench for like however long, you know. But it's because you willingly put yourself and expose your hands in the fire. Exactly. Always, that's what I call it, like being in the fire.
Right. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. So
And the more you expose yourself to those circumstances, the easier it is to deal with bigger things. You know.
Right. Okay. So, last question I want to ask you is strength training. How does that work? Because me personally, I don't train for strength, but I want to get into it. but I don't know how to train for strength. So talk to me about ways you train for strength, the benefits of it, and the misconceptions of strength training.
Got you. So, how do you strength train? Number one, the first, like I would say, the first component of strength training is to build exposure to near maximal lifts. Like, don't be afraid of working in that capacity. For example, if your squat is 315 pounds, so that's 3 plates on your side. The purpose, not necessarily purpose, but what will allow you to be strong and get comfortable and acclimated to strength training is learning how to expose yourself to high level lifting, like to near maximal lifting, because it's not comfortable. Bro, working at 80% or 90% or 92% or 95% of your 1 rep max, no, it does not feel good. It saps you with a lot of energy, you know?
Right.
Like, imagine every other day it's like, okay, your max squat is 315, you're gonna be working at, 40 pounds underneath that. So like 275. 275 is considerable weight. I don't know what that is in like off the top of my head, like in a percentage term.
Right.
But the more you allow yourself to be okay with lifting heavy shit, and even just having, like, how do I say this, to wrap your mind and your body around what that circumstance feels like. Because having a heavy barbell or having a heavy weight in your hand, it doesn't particularly feel good, not all the time. But you have to learn that there is something to be gained by exposing yourself to that level of discomfort, like we spoke about earlier.
Right.
So it's number one. Really, it's just a mental thing. You need to gear your mind to, like, look, I'm going to be doing really high intensity movements, like high intensity lifting, and you're going to be doing that for a while to gain something, to gain strength.
Right.
So number one, I would say it's exposure, and that just takes time. Your second question was benefits of strength training?
Yes.
Benefits of strength training. I personally believe that if you train for strength, you will, as a byproduct, build an aesthetic body to some degree. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean, and that's kind of ties into the third question, like misconceptions about strength training. That doesn't necessarily mean that, like, because you train for strength, you're gonna look like, some of these like really puffy, thick as fuck people, men and women alike, and you'll be rotund, you'll get the power lifter belly. Like, no, it's just a byproduct of that person's physiology and how they've trained to maximize, their physique or their performance. And perhaps in order for them to maximize their performance, they may look like that. That may not necessarily mean that you'll look like that. Right. Because you're dealing with genetics, your biology, physiology, etc., etc. Like, there is no way humanly possible, I'm an ectomorph, that I would look like someone with a power belly because that strength, it's just not gonna happen.
Right.
We're two totally different people with different sets of chromosomes, with different ancestors, with different, physiological makeups. Like, that's not, people conflate these terms. Like, oh, if I squat, bench, deadlift, or if I just train for strength, I'm gonna get big and puffy and bulky. And no, it's not necessarily, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
It solely depends on what you put in your body, number one. Right. That doesn't mean just like eat like a fucking dog. You might have to at certain points in time, and those are called refeeds. But if you are conscious about your eating and how you maneuver and how you lift and the overall intensity in which you do lift, you will more than most likely build a really aesthetic physique and be really fucking strong in the process. Yeah. Because look at it like this. If you are training, right, for strength, which means you are incorporating near maximal lifts over a set period of time on a regular basis, you're constantly exposing yourself to that really strenuous stimulus. What's going to happen is not only will you build strength, but then you will build muscle density, and you'll also build hypertrophy. Maybe not at the exact rate that you would like to in terms of like bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is more of like a feeling aspect. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't necessarily in bodybuilding you don't necessarily train high reps, low reps. You just train according to what gives you the best stimulus to grow the most muscle.
Right.
Whereas strength training, it's about power output over a certain period of time, which is literally like that. You want to make all of your reps as fast as possible.
Right.
You know.
So I heard you talk about refeed. Touch up on a refeed. What is a refeed? What is refeeding?
So for example, if you were to eat at a specific caloric intake, what may happen at some point in time is you would deplete the glycogen in your muscles, and your CNS will probably be central nervous system probably really really taxed from lifting so much weight over such a period of time, because it's really it's a very intense way of training.
Right.
And so what may happen is like you may have to overeat, eat enough to really replenish the glycogen in your muscles and to like kind of like refuel yourself, just so your body can kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just so your body can like readjust, because it's it's a very strenuous environment. Because for example, you're doing probably 5 rep maxes, 1 rep maxes, 3 rep maxes, et cetera, at like whatever percentage, 80, 90, 70%, this, and you're going to be doing those types of movements for a long time. Throughout like any given training week, at some point in time, you're going to be really fucking tired. Like that weight is going to feel extremely heavy. You probably might not even have a pump.
Right.
Okay. It's just about getting under the weight and executing that, that rep to the best of your abilities.
Okay, so the pump, so what I'm getting from that is strength training versus the bodybuilding training. Bodybuilding, you're getting a pump. Strength training, you don't get a pump.
No. That's not what's happening. It's like you can get a pump either way, but the focus behind bodybuilding is the pump, because you're trying to stretch the fascia of the muscle so it becomes longer and fuller and more mature, so you can have a more 3D physique. You know what I mean? But I believe if you strength train correctly, you can achieve the same thing. You may not have extremely hard lines and striations in your muscles, or at least none that can be shown in that moment.
Right. Because
you're probably not like, number one, you're not trying to eat at a caloric deficit. Like that's not the purpose of strength training. Some people can, like myself, can strength train and be very lean and just be single digit body fat and still get strong as fuck and get big. That's just how my body works.
Right.
I don't hold on to fat. Some people, all else being equal, they're eating the right amount of food they need to eat to grow and be strong. They're getting their good sleep in. They're training max effort every single session. They may be super huge, but they may not have really deep, crisp lines in their body as a bodybuilder would, because that's what a bodybuilder trains for. They train to have a well-rounded, solid-looking, complete physique with a lot of detail. Detail isn't important in strength training. We are here for an objective. We are trying to complete a task, which is push X amount of weight for Y amount of reps to achieve Z stimulus. Like that's it.
Okay.
It's really cut and dry.
Right.
Okay.
Like
for example, there are people with like big quads who don't, maybe they're bodybuilding, who have super huge quads, right? But they're not very strong. And there are guys who like look like me or even smaller. There's a dude, he's like, I don't know his name. I know I've seen his profile on Instagram, but he's about 140, 145, deadlift like 600.
Wow.
Legs aren't huge as fuck, body isn't huge, he's not a big guy, but he's ridiculously strong. Like, he's efficient in recruiting as much muscle fibers as he can to do work.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man. So you heard it from the genius, from the philosopher, man.
I'm just a regular guy. I just do some things,
So yeah, figure out where you lie in strength training or bodybuilding. Figure out, and you could be a mixture. Kind of like how I'm gonna get into. I'm gonna be like a mixture, but I lean more towards the bodybuilding side because my main focus is how I look and the details, like you said,
right.
And his focus is more on strength. There's not a problem with that. You bounce ideas and you grow from it.
Right. You would actually be what's called a power builder. That is a thing.
Power builder.
Yeah, that is a thing. So you would be like because that's when you mix a power lifter which is a specific type of strength training, a power lifter and a bodybuilder. So you'd be like a power builder. But you could still be a bodybuilder and still train for strength. You would just have to use less reps, use heavier weight, and a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but this is something that I believe in 1,000%. Do both. More weight and more reps. You do force reps. Work until failure, take a rest, pause, bang out 2 more reps, take a rest, pause, bang out a few more reps, take a rest, pause.
Taxing them.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, because that way you could gain both.
Right.
You could get really hard, dense muscle. You can create really solid lines in your physique. You could have both.
Yeah, man. So you heard it from a guy, man. So make sure you guys like things we talked about, getting the diet right, and focusing and tapping more into the diet and being careful about what you're eating. Be conscious, because it's gonna help with the mind part and helping your mind, because you are what you eat, and then that's gonna correlate to the workout aspect, because you're eating healthy, you're putting the right fuel in your body, so now you can work, you know. So yeah, man, thanks for having you on here, man.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And you're gonna have a strength training program coming out soon, huh?
Yes, I'm in the process of writing that. It's it can be adapted for any person. It is not necessarily any particular type of strength training, but it's kind of like a hybrid setup to where you'd be doing 8-12 reps, but maximum effort along with accessory movements. It's kind of like a mixture of strength training plus calisthenics and some functional movements all blended together, just so like you don't have any weak parts in your physique or in your training. You can just build strength and build a complete well-rounded physique all at the same time.
Interesting, bro. So yeah, bro, if you guys are interested, type into that. I'll put his Instagram in the description here, and you know, have an ear to hear to the gyms, you know. But with that being said, it's EJ here, aka Gohan, and like, comment, and subscribe, and we're gonna catch you in the next video. Peace.